Yummy.
He was mimicking our vocalizations, but the fact that he knew that paper referred to one object and key referred to another meant that he understood there was a one-to-one correlation between these sounds and these objects. Yes, he was mimicking speech sounds, but they weren't random. And of course, the more different things that he could label, the more impressive that ability became.
They kept working.
What matter? Wool. That's right, Alex, wool.
And within a year, Alex could name 7 objects, 3 colors,
Green.
and 2 shapes.
Corner.
Good parrot.
For the last 12 years, primatologist Catherine Hobiter has traveled to the Ugandan forest. There, she studies chimpanzee families, observing their gestural communication. She is compiling a dictionary of these gestures. But first, this visual vocabulary needs to be spelled out.
So in this video, the male chimpanzee is going to gesture to a female chimpanzee to say, "Come here, I want you to move towards me." And he's doing the big object shake, both hands. And you can see the female, she's just sitting at the edge of the screen, looking at him, and he stops and he waits for a response. But again, that first gestural communication didn't work. And so he's now stopping, he's taking stock, he's thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? Now the male chimpanzee, he's repeating that gesture. So he's got that big object shake, first with one hand, then with 2 hands. And the female's looking over at him, so he's got her attention, and he's repeating and really persisting here. He's really being insistent that he wants her to come to him. And you see that seems to have done the trick, and she's moving over, and she greets him. He's the alpha, and then they're gonna sit down and rest together. So he's achieved his goal there. She's moved over to him and is sitting next to him.
Catherine Hobiter has already identified and logged a vocabulary of over 70 gestures. It is available online for all researchers who wish to communicate with large primates. The dictionary is also accessible to the general public, and researchers are also invited to contribute their discoveries to it if they so wish. Back in the 18th century, people would have fun playing tunes from musical boxes to canaries. An experiment along these lines is being carried out today at a laboratory in the University of Nanterre in France, where scientists are trying to understand the language of birds. Birds acquire the language through learning, and it has recently been discovered that they even have dialects.
Aristotle already observed that from one region to another, birds of the same species did not produce exactly the same song. He noted geographical variations, which we refer to today as dialects, in reference to human language. To examine this phenomenon, we cannot place adults, children and babies on an island to see how their language emerges over the course of time, because it would take far too long. But an experiment like that can be done with birds, for example. And that's what we're doing here at Nanterre.
In this experiment, Sébastien de Regnecourt has isolated a colony of zebra finches.
In natural conditions, each male zebra finch produces a different song. But here, in the laboratory, we've managed to train the birds to produce the same song. We proceeded by using playback. The young birds were isolated during their juvenile development stage. We left them to reproduce for several generations to see how their song evolved within the colony, in which all the males sing the same song.
By being exposed to a single song generation after generation, would the males reproduce it ad infinitum, or would they add their own variations to it? The isolation experiment lasted for 1 year and involved 6 generations of birds.
The results were that we managed to create artificial dialects among the zebra finches because we see that after several generations within our colonies, the males produce roughly the same song. So then we can try with these artificial dialects, artificial social groups, to see if a female will prefer a male that sings the same song as her group over a male from a different group.
Once two groups can be differentiated by their song, the scientists have observed that the females are more attracted by the song of their own group than by the other. As the saying goes, birds of a feather stick together. Dolphins take vocal recognition to a different level. They give themselves names. They embed whistled signatures into their vocalizations. No two signatures are the same. They serve to distinguish each dolphin individually, like a personal identity signal.
There are specific whistle types, so new modulation patterns that the animals produce that identify the animal that's making the sound. In fact, signature whistles do work like names in the context, in the sense that others can copy those whistles and can use them to address an animal. And for example, if I'm trying to find a particular animal, I can call that signature whistle and I can address the other one or try to find him.
Dolphins learn to shape their whistled signatures from birth. This small female dolphin has just been born. She is nursing from her mother, and from the first days of her life, she hears the adults of her family whistle and vocalize. This is how she becomes familiar with the whistled signatures of the dolphins around her.
So an animal, when it grows up, will start to develop its own unique novel whistle type. They are listening to whistles in their environment, use some of them, and then just modify them, rather than making something completely new up from scratch. So what seems to happen is that the animals take a whistle that they hear, they copy it, and then they kind of create their own variation of it and change it. And so that way they come up with new whistles.
They babble, a bit like babies who are learning their first words. So, dolphins have an ability to learn that resembles ours. Researchers refer to this as vocal learning.
Okay, Anton, we've never had this ball before. Let's do it.
Anton has placed the car with the loudspeaker far away from the elephant, out of his sight.
I'll play the familiar female, track number 2, in 3, 2, 1.
Anton plays the call of the known female to the young male. He shows no sign whatsoever of a reaction. Now it's the turn of the stranger from Vienna.
Now I'll play unknown female, Tonga, in 3, 2, 1.
The sound was played. The head, he turns towards the speaker already. And here we got a very nice vocal response, a rumble. After in playback experiments, you really know that you have a very strong reaction, and this shows a strong preference, probably a potential strong preference towards this unfamiliar female. And now he is directly approaching the speaker. This approach is a very, very strong reaction because he instantly decides that he will go and search for the female. Then he also lifts up his trunk, you can see, trying to locate the smell of the female. And now he's in a direct line with the speaker. In total, we now tested about 30 males. And what we found out that the males reacted much stronger. They showed much more interest into the rumbles from unfamiliar females. And this is very important, or we learn a lot out of this, because it shows us that, first of all, they are capable of detecting social information out of a female vocalization. And then why would they prefer stranger females or females that they're not familiar with? Is because they might use this information to avoid inbreeding. it's important to not breed or mate with a sister, with a mother maybe, or a cousin.
So, males avoid inbreeding thanks to the vocal recognition of females.
Male elephants do spend a lot of time with their females, so they only leave their families when they are about 14 years of age. And that's a long time to learn about vocalizations, to, just being capable of identifying the typical signature of their own family. Elephants at least have to be aware of the vocalizations of about 100 to 150 different individuals.